Hi friends, today we are going to preserve this garlic. I got a huge bag at our US Chef store of organic garlic because, like I've said before, I can't grow anything. So I'm gonna chop this up and we're gonna dehydrate it and make garlic powder out of it, because there's no way, even if I used a clove, the whole bulb, every day, it would take me forever to go through it because I have more than just this. I still have this bag left that I'm going to keep out to use fresh garlic, but the rest of this, I have this half-gallon jar, is going to get cut up and dehydrated. I'm going to cut it up with the roots, paper, and all. I'm not going to peel it and do all of that. There's a lot of nutrients and vitamins in the paper, or the husk, or whatever you want to call it. So I'm just going to roughly chop these, and then I'm going to put them in my Vitamix or blender. If you have a blender or if you have a food processor, I'm just roughly chopping these. That bottom does not want to cut, so that they can go in my food processor, or not my food processor, my blender. I don't actually have a food processor. I use my blender or my Anchor Shrum for anything that I need. It does both. Between those two machines, I really don't need a food processor, and I really don't have room for one. So I might actually cut the bottoms off of these because these are really hard. Try not to cut myself. And so I'm gonna go ahead and chop these up, and then I'll show you the next step. So I have my blender jug filled about 2/3 of the way with just garlic. I did take some of the papers out, but not very much, just excess. Put it in my garbage bowl. And once you cut off the bottom, they just pop right out. So I finally got it down to a science. So you just cut off the bottom like this, throw it in, and then they just pop right out. It makes it much easier, and you can do just the individual garlic cloves are small enough, and then if I have extra paper, I just put it in my garbage bowl. So I'm gonna go blend this up and I'll show you what it looks like. So this is one of the racks in my dehydrator, and basically I just got it pulverized a little bit. It's not super like paste, but because I don't want it to go through the holes in the rack. Pull that out of there now. So then you're just gonna spread it onto your rack. And I do still have some whole cloves in there, but this is going to get, and I might put those back in, but it's very pungent. It smells very much like garlic. It's very strong. So I might put these whole pieces back in there and let them grind. Unfortunately, my blender doesn't like not having a lot of liquid, and garlic is just sticky enough that it gunks up my blender. So for this particular project, I would like to have a food processor just because it would make it easier. Throw that back in, that one. But I didn't peel the cloves or anything, as you can see. So the hardest part is this part of getting them to like a thick paste point. So I'm gonna go through and get these huge already open like this, or like this one. That's fine, because like I said, after we dehydrate these, we're gonna run them back through the blender and make powder out of them, and it will do a better job with that because it's completely dry and it moves freely. But the garlic is really sticky, and so it doesn't move as freely through the blades as it would if I had put water in there. But I really don't want to put water in it because that'll make it too thin and it'll just run through the drying rack because the holes are fairly big. So I'm just spreading this out, and I'll have this whole rack filled before I start another one if I need another one, and put that into the dehydrator. So I'll be back in a minute. So I'm finishing up grinding up the garlic. A few things that I've learned that I will pass on to you that nobody told me, and I wish they had, is that garlic is very sticky, and so it makes a really great paste and it sticks to your rack really well. But I will say that when I do this again, because I've done this with lots of vegetables, you can do this with tomatoes. You would just slice them and lay them on the drying rack, or whatever vegetable you want. Celery, you can make powder out of any vegetable that you can dry out, or fruit for that matter. Everybody knows you can make fruit leather and all of that. But I have never done garlic, And so I'm going by someone else's experience. But the things they did not mention is garlic is kind of like jalapenos in the fact that if you have the slightest little owie on your hand, even ones that you didn't know were there, garlic will find it and will punish you for it. Oh, it burns so bad. It is not going to hurt anything because garlic does have antibiotic properties. And so it's actually probably good for it, but it burns something fierce. It really burns. And this is something I probably would break down and wear gloves for. The other thing is that this is a very messy project, probably as messy as rendering fat down into tallow or lard. That is also pretty messy. I try to contain it as much as I can. Usually I just use my bare countertop to roll out my dough and things like that when I'm making bread. But I used my hand and stuck my hand in the blender to get all the pieces out that, or the chunks or whatever, that wouldn't come out with the spatula under the blade, and because I don't want to waste any of this, right? And it makes for less cleanup. And let me tell you, I did not know that my hands were so damaged. I had so many pains on them, places where it just stung like fire. And then I have this burn from making bread the other day where my hand just barely touched the oven for a millisecond. I was making sourdough, and so the oven was super hot. So anyway, I have this huge burn and I got garlic paste on it, and oh my goodness. The other thing that I will do next time, I think, is, and this is what I got out of all of that garlic. I got one sheet, and I'm going to go ahead and take this to the dehydrator and put it in there and get it started, because it'll probably take overnight. It is around almost 3 o'clock now, so I have to look on there and refresh my memory of how long it needs to be dehydrated for. But next time I will cut the garlic smaller. I'll leave the skin on the actual garlic cloves, but I probably won't keep that white, really thin, papery skin off the entire bulb. I will probably remove that next time, and I'll definitely cut my garlic into smaller chunks. And those are the couple things that I would do differently when I do, well, when I do this again. I know that this is going to make fabulous garlic powder. It's going to be so much more fragrant and flavorful than the kind you buy in the store. And it's going to be fresher and exactly what's in it. It's definitely worth the mess. It's worth the burning of the hands, but those are some things I would do different next time. So we're going to go ahead and get this over into the dehydrator. So this is my dehydrator. It was a very inexpensive one, considering we have had it for years. I have my garlic on the top rack. This one comes with, I don't know, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 racks. I'm just gonna put this on the top, and I need to plug it in actually. Okay, so I got it turned on. I'm going to go by this guide here and get it set. So I have it set for 10 hours at 137 degrees. The guide says 4 to 10 hours at, I don't know if you can see it, if I can get it to focus, vegetables. I'm doing it on a vegetable setting. It says 4 to 10 hours at 130 to 140 degrees. So that's what I have it set at. I'm just gonna take the lid, I call it a lid, but it's not, it's at the front, and you just set it on there like that, and then it will go. It'll turn off automatically at 10 hours, and it'll display what temperature it's at. 10 hours from now is like 1 a.m. It'll be fine to sit overnight after it shuts off, and then I'll just take care of it in the morning. We'll come back and regrind the dried garlic and store it. See you then. So our garlic paste has dehydrated overnight. It took about 10 hours, and then it sat for the rest of the night until this morning. It's really dry. Some of the whole cloves did not completely dry, but the paste is very dry. So I'm just gonna start breaking this up. I should probably put something underneath this first. And any areas that aren't totally dry, I'm just gonna set aside. So we'll start breaking this up. I have a bowl here, and I'm just gonna start taking it off the tray. And so you're just gonna get it off your tray, which is going to be not that simple. I'm gonna have to probably use a butter knife or something to pry it up because it went through the bottom a little bit, well, a lot. But actually, if I push it from the bottom, it's breaking up nicely. This is very fragrant. Let me tell you, it is still, even dried, very strongly, very aromatic. So anyway, I'm going to work on this. I'm not going to make you watch me do the tedious stuff, and I'll be right back. Almost done. So this has taken me probably 20 minutes to get to this point where I'm almost done. I actually ended up turning the rack over and just using this small butter knife to push it through and break off the pieces from the back. I did put a towel underneath to catch because it likes to bounce off the countertop and fly all over the kitchen. So I'm gonna have to do some sweeping and vacuuming when I'm done with this. There were some spots towards the middle that didn't fully dehydrate. So I have them in this jar here. It's not very much, but I'm probably just gonna throw it on a cookie sheet in the oven for a little bit and dry it the rest of the way out, and then I'll grind it up. But I'm gonna get the rest of this off of here. I'm gonna show you the next step and tell you what I would have done differently and what I will do differently next time, because I definitely will do this again. It is worth it, but there are ways to make this much easier than this process that I'm doing right now. So I will give you that information so you don't have to go through this guided. So I'm going to put this in my Vitamix and blend it up, and then I will show you the finished product. So some of the things I would do differently next time, or I will do differently next time, is I will use a finer mesh screen on my dehydrator tray so that it doesn't get stuck in the larger holes. And I will spread it a lot thinner because, like I said, in the middle, I had some that is still pretty damp and sticky. So that, like I said, I'll probably throw that in the oven and just dehydrate it in the oven the rest of the way. So now I'm gonna grind this up and then I'll show you how it comes out. Oh, this is very, very strong. So now I have this fine powder and we have just made garlic powder. We don't just use this jar. So we're gonna put this, and there was still a little bit of stickiness in there, so I made it stick to the sides a little bit. I cannot tell you, and you can't tell through video, how fragrant this is. It smells so strong. It makes the store-bought stuff smell like nothing. It really is already, I can tell without even using it, 10 times better than the store stuff that who knows how long it's been sitting there on the shelf. And you can do this with, it is kind of caked up here. You can do this with onions, you can do it with green onions, you can do it with herbs and spices. You can buy your spices whole, like nutmeg, allspice, cloves, cinnamon stick, turmeric root, ginger root. You can buy them all whole and grind them as you use them. And it's just so much better. I do that when I make fire cider for my family. I get whole horseradish root and whole ginger root and whole turmeric root, and I grate it up or cut it up. So anyway, this is our garlic powder. It took probably overnight, maybe 24 hours, less than, but most of it is just dehydrating time. It really does not take a lot of hands-on labor intensive, except when you don't use the right screen in your dehydrator. That would have been so much easier for me if I had done the finer mesh screen on top of that dehydrator screen, because then it would have just come right up and broken up more easily. And I could have spread it much thinner. So that's what I'll change next time for sure. But this is by far so worth. This is probably gonna last me a few months. And if you keep it sealed, it should be fine for that long. Again, I use a lot of garlic in my cooking. I use it in hot garlic honey. I use it in fire cider. I use it in all kinds of things. So for me, this is probably enough for a couple months, like I said, but it's so worth it. My house smells like garlic and probably will for a few days, but that's not a terrible thing. It's better than when I make fire cider and it smells like horseradish in here. So I would definitely do this again. Definitely worth it. And the changes that I would make it 10 times easier. So I hope you all have a wonderful rest of your day and see you next time.